Many Singaporeans in mainland China and Hong Kong had to wrestle their way through rough weather and logistical challenges to get their votes in for this presidential election. Olivia Siong reports from Beijing.
I'm going to cast my vote for the next presidential election by post.
33-year-old Christy Liu has been living in China's Yangjiang for about a year. With no polling station where she is and the nearest one 3 hours away in Hong Kong, she quickly registered to send in her ballot by post, but little did she expect to run into numerous obstacles. That sent Ms. Liu on a 21-kilometer drive the next day, although new challenges emerged. Ms. Liu said the post office staff told her they were unfamiliar with how to handle the return envelope, and in the end, she had to pay about $3 Singapore for registered mail to get her ballot sent back.
More than happy to pay because I wanted the vote to be counted for sure. But I thought the whole process maybe could be better because I'm not sure about other countries, but probably mainly in China, language is also a barrier.
Some other voters in China also told CNA of similar experiences, while others said they simply dropped their vote in the mailbox. A few raised concerns over whether their vote would reach Singapore and before September 11, the stipulated deadline. Singapore's elections department said those who downloaded their ballots would be considered as having tried to vote, and their names will not be removed from the registers of electors even if their ballot is not received. Those whose ballots have been received will be informed via email after the counting of overseas votes is complete. On hindsight, 45-year-old Jason Lim says he wished he had opted for the postal ballot. The Singaporean who lives in Guangzhou had taken a day off work, intending to go to nearby Hong Kong to cast his vote. But these plans were swept aside as a super typhoon hurled towards China's south. The high-speed rail train that Mr. Lim was booked on to Hong Kong cancelled as a result.
I was so disappointed, and I was thinking, is there any other way I can do? I tried to. I even thought of flying back to Singapore to vote, but I suppose because of the typhoon, even airplane is unable to fly.
The Singapore Consulate General announced on Friday morning that voting would proceed in the city, even though the third highest typhoon warning was issued in the early hours of Friday. It added that registered voters who decide not to cast their ballot for safety reasons can reach out to the elections department to restore their names to the registers of electors. Over at the Singapore Embassy in Beijing, voters told CNA that the process was quick and smooth.
I'm actually working in Tianjin, so I thought it's important for us to come in person, to physically put a vote in.
My second time actually, and I think it's important because we have a voice even though we're not in Singapore.
More than 6,600 Singaporeans registered as overseas voters for this year's presidential election. About a quarter, or 1,600, live in mainland China, Taiwan and Hong Kong. Now, at the close of voting, the ballot box will then be sealed and immediately sent back to Singapore, where on arrival, it will be stored at the Supreme Court until counting is done. Olivia Siong, CNA, Beijing.